The crystal gardens of Nexus Prime had never seen darkness like this. Elder Thyman stood beneath the dying light of his world's twin suns, watching the last of his people flee through the transparent corridors that connected their floating cities. The Catherians had built their civilization in harmony with nature, their buildings growing like living things from the planet's unique crystal formations. Everything was designed for peace, beauty, and the gentle pursuit of knowledge. That peace shattered when the Voidborn arrived. Thyman's elongated fingers traced the smooth surface of the communication crystal beside him. His pale blue skin, normally glowing with soft bioluminescent patterns that showed joy and contentment, now pulsed with the deep purple of fear and desperation. Around him, the crystal city of Luminar groaned under the weight of Voidborn bombardment. The alien ships hung in the sky like massive black daggers, their hulls absorbing light itself. The Voidborn were everything the Catherians were not. Where Catherians created, the Voidborn consumed. Where Catherians sought harmony, the Voidborn brought only silence. They traveled from world to world, strip-mining entire civilizations and leaving nothing but empty space behind. Their insectoid bodies were encased in dark metal armor, and their ships moved through space like a plague of mechanical locusts. "Elder, the western districts have fallen," reported Captain Veltar, his voice trembling through the crystal network. "They're taking prisoners, but only the young and strong. The others—" The transmission cut to static. Thyman closed his large silver eyes and felt the weight of 3 billion lives pressing down on him. The Catherians had no weapons, no military, no concept of war beyond ancient stories. Their most advanced technology was designed to grow food, heal the sick, and explore the beauty of the universe. Their ships could travel between stars, but they carried scientists and artists, not soldiers. The Voidborn commander, a creature known only as the Harvester, had given them one planetary rotation to surrender completely. Half that time had already passed. Soon, every Catherian city would look like the smoking ruins of Crystal Haven, their first major population center to fall. "Send the final message," Thyman whispered to his communications officer, a young Catherian named Zephyr, whose skin patterns flickered with barely controlled panic. "Elder, no one has responded to our previous calls for help. The Galactic Assembly says intervention would require a formal vote. The Alteran Confederacy claims they cannot spare ships. Even the mighty Draconian Empire has refused to act." "Then we call to the darkness itself," Thyman replied, his voice gaining strength. "Broadcast on all frequencies, every possible channel. If the great powers will not help us, perhaps someone else will hear." Zephyr's 6-fingered hands danced across the crystal control surface, amplifying their signal to reach every corner of known space. The message that went out was simple but desperate. "This is Elder Thyman of the Catherian Union on Nexus Prime. We are under attack by the Voidborn fleet. Our cities are burning. Our people are dying. We have no weapons to fight them, no armies to defend ourselves. We ask any who hear this message, if there is mercy in the galaxy, if there is justice among the stars, please help us. We cannot survive alone." The message traveled faster than light, racing through hyperspace lanes and subspace networks, reaching worlds both familiar and unknown. Most who heard it simply filed it away as another tragedy in a galaxy full of wars. The major powers had their own problems, their own territories to protect. The Catherians were too small, too weak, too far away to matter. But on a small research station orbiting a dead star in the outer rim, Lieutenant Sophia Reeves was monitoring communications when the signal came through. She sat bolt upright in her chair, her coffee mug forgotten as Elder Thyman's words filled the cramped monitoring room of Research Station Bravo 7. "Captain Vale to the comm center. Emergency priority," she called over the intercom. "Captain." Marcus Vale arrived within minutes, still pulling on his uniform jacket. He was a weathered man in his 40s with steel gray hair and the kind of steady eyes that came from years of keeping people alive in the dangerous emptiness of space. Behind him came Dr. Evelyn Cross, the station's xenobiologist, a brilliant woman whose curiosity about alien life had brought her to this remote outpost. "What have we got, Reeves?" Marcus asked. Sophia played the Catherian message, watching her captain's expression grow more serious with each word. When it finished, the comm room fell silent except for the gentle hum of life support systems. "How far?" Marcus asked quietly. 4 days at maximum burn, sir. But, Captain, our orders are to maintain observation protocols. Earth Command was very specific about not getting involved in alien conflicts. Dr. Cross stepped forward, her brown eyes intense behind wire-rimmed glasses. "I've studied the Catherians, Captain. They're genuinely peaceful. They've never started a war, never conquered anyone. They're artists, philosophers, healers. They don't deserve this." Marcus walked to the small viewport and stared out at the stars. He thought about his own family back on Earth, about the values that had driven humanity to reach for the stars in the first place. Humanity was still new to the galactic community, still proving itself worthy of respect among the ancient civilizations that dominated space. "Sir," came a new voice from the doorway. Master Sergeant Kane Bishop, the station's security chief, stepped into the room. He was a big man with kind eyes and hands that could be gentle with frightened civilians or deadly against enemies. "I've been listening to the chatter. The whole galaxy knows about this, and nobody's lifting a finger. What do you recommend, Sergeant?" Marcus asked. "I recommend we remember who we are, sir. Humans don't abandon people who need help. Never have, never will." Marcus looked around at his small crew. Research Station Bravo 7 housed only 30 people, with one lightly armed scout ship. They had no weapons capable of fighting a void-born fleet, no authority to start an interstellar war. But they had something else, something that had driven humanity from the caves of Earth to the stars themselves. They had the refusal to stand by and watch innocents die. "Prep the Starfire for immediate departure," Marcus ordered. "Full combat loadout, maximum supplies. We're going to Nexus Prime." "Sir, that's direct violation of—" Reeves began. "I know exactly what it is, Lieutenant. Log it as a reconnaissance mission. Sometimes you have to see a situation firsthand before you can make proper recommendations to command." As his crew scrambled to prepare, Marcus sent his own message into space directed toward the Catherian homeworld. "Elder Thyman, this is Captain Marcus Vale of Earth Research Station Bravo 7. We hear your call for help. We're coming. Hold on." The message was simple, but it carried the weight of humanity's promise. For the first time in galactic history, someone had answered a desperate plea for help with more than empty words. Catherians were about to learn that humanity kept its promises no matter the cost. The Starfire dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Nexus Prime system, and Captain Marcus Vale felt his blood run cold. The tactical display showed a nightmare beyond imagination. 17 massive void-born dreadnoughts hung in orbit around the crystal world, each one larger than Earth's biggest space stations. Smaller attack craft swarmed between them like angry insects, their dark hulls seeming to drink in the light from Nexus Prime's twin suns. "Sweet Mother of Mars," whispered pilot Jackson Torres from the helm. The young man had earned his call sign Reaper during the Titan mining wars, but he had never seen destruction on this scale. Through the viewports, they could see the planet's surface dotted with fires where once beautiful crystal cities had stood. Dr. Evelyn Cross worked frantically at her science station, scanning the void-born ships with every sensor they had. "Captain, their energy signatures are off the charts. Each of those dreadnoughts has enough firepower to glass an entire continent. And there's something else. They're not just destroying the cities, they're harvesting something." Master Sergeant Kane Bishop studied the tactical readouts with a soldier's eye. "Look at their formation. They're not expecting trouble. No scouts, no perimeter guard. They think they own this system already." Chief Engineer Zara Nightfall, a wiry woman with grease-stained coveralls and brilliant green eyes, looked up from her console. "Captain, I'm reading massive crystal formations beneath the planet's surface. The Catherians built their cities on top of the largest deposits, but there are veins running through the entire planetary crust." "What kind of crystals?" Dr. Cross asked, suddenly alert. "Unknown composition, but the energy readings are incredible. If I didn't know better, I'd say there's some kind of natural power source." Marcus felt a piece of the puzzle click into place. The Voidborn aren't just conquering, they're strip mining. Those crystals must be what they're really after. A weak Signal crackled through their communications array. Elder Thymon's voice, barely audible through interference and distance, reached them across space. Unknown ship. Please identify yourself. Are you the humans who sent the message? Marcus activated the comm system. Elder Thymon, this is Captain Vale of the Earth vessel Starfire. We received your distress call. What's your current situation? Captain Vale. The relief in the alien leader's voice was unmistakable. We are hiding in the crystal caves beneath Mount Serenity. Perhaps 2,000 of my people remain free. The rest are in void-born labor camps, forced to mine the deep crystals. But Captain, you must leave immediately. Your ship is so small compared to theirs, they will destroy you in moments. Dr. Cross leaned over the comm pickup. Elder Thymon, this is Dr. Evelyn Cross. I've studied your people's history. Tell me about the crystals, what makes them special? There was a long pause before Thymon responded. The crystals are the heart of our world, Dr. Cross. They grow naturally in our soil, and we learned to work with them centuries ago. They can store and focus energy, amplify thought, even heal injuries, but we never use them for violence. Could they be weaponized? Cross asked urgently. I suppose so. But we would never. Elder, we're not asking you to hurt anyone. Marcus interrupted. But if those crystals could help us even the odds, we need to know. From the engineering station, Zara Nightfall's eyes were bright with possibility. Captain, if those crystals can amplify and focus energy the way the Elder describes, I might be able to modify our weapon systems. Human plasma technology combined with Catherian crystal focusing, we could punch well above our weight class. Kane Bishop was already thinking tactically. Even with better weapons, we're one ship against 17. We need to be smart about this. Hit and run guerrilla warfare. Make them think there are more of us than there really are. Marcus looked around at his crew. 30 humans against an alien armada that had conquered dozens of worlds. The smart play would be to gather intelligence and report back to Earth Command. Let the big ships and the professional military handle this. But Marcus remembered the desperate plea in Elder Thymon's voice, and he thought about the 2,000 Catherians hiding in caves while their world died above them. Elder Thymon, we're coming down to your position. We'll need volunteers who know the crystal technology. Captain, this is madness. You cannot defeat the Voidborn with one small ship. Maybe not, Marcus replied, but we're going to try. Sometimes the impossible just needs the right approach. The Starfire slipped through the asteroid field that orbited Nexus Prime's outer moon, using the debris to mask their approach. Jackson, Torres flew like his life depended on it, which it did. One wrong move, one sensor ping from a Voidborn patrol, and they would be vaporized instantly. Contact, Kane Bishop called out from the weapon station. 3 Voidborn fighters heading our way. They haven't seen us yet, Torres reported, his hands dancing over the flight controls. We can slip past them if we... No, Marcus said quietly. Change of plans. Zara, how long to modify our forward plasma cannon with the crystal data, Dr. Cross downloaded? Give me 10 minutes and one of those Catherian crystals, and I'll give you a weapon that'll make their armor look like paper. You have 5 minutes. Torres, get us close to those fighters. If we're going to announce ourselves to the galaxy, let's make it count. As the Starfire moved toward its first engagement, Dr. Cross established communication with the Catherian survivors in the caves below. What she learned changed everything. The crystals weren't just energy sources. They were alive in a sense, growing and responding to the thoughts and emotions of those who worked with them. The Catherians had spent centuries learning to harmonize. With them, creating a bond between organic life and crystalline structure that was unique in the galaxy. Captain, Cross reported, her voice filled with excitement and terror. The Catherians haven't just been living with these crystals, they've been evolving with them. The crystals respond to Catherian bioneural patterns. With the right modifications, a Catherian could potentially interface directly with our ship's systems through the crystals. Are you saying what I think you're saying? Marcus asked. I'm saying that if we can get Elder Thymon aboard our ship, we might be able to create a hybrid human-Catherian fighting system that the Voidborn have never encountered before. Kane Bishop grinned fiercely. A weapon they can't predict because it's never existed before. Exactly. The Voidborn are masters of conventional warfare, but they've never faced anything like what we could create. Marcus made a decision that would echo through galactic history. Do it. All of it. Zara, get those weapon modifications online. Cross, prepare for Catherian integration. Torres, get us to Mount Serenity. We're not just rescuing these people anymore, we're building something new. What are we building, Captain? Kane asked. Marcus smiled grimly as the first Voidborn fighters appeared on their screens. The future, Sergeant. We're building the future. The small Earth ship dove toward the planet's surface, carrying 30 humans and the desperate hope of an entire species. Behind them, the Voidborn armada continued its methodical destruction, unaware that everything was about to change. In the crystal caves below, Elder Thyman felt something he hadn't experienced in days. Hope. The humans had come, just as they promised. And somehow, impossibly, they seemed to think they could win. The galaxy was about to learn its first lesson about humanity. They didn't know the meaning of impossible odds. The crystal caves beneath Mount Serenity hummed with desperate energy as Chief Engineer Zara Nightfall worked her magic. She had connected 3 Catherian power crystals to the Starfire's weapon systems, and the results were beyond anything she had imagined. The crystals seemed to sing as human plasma technology merged with alien crystal amplification, creating something entirely new. Elder Thyman watched in amazement as Dr. Evelyn Cross carefully attached bioneural interfaces to his elongated temples. The device looked crude compared to Catherian technology, but it worked. Through the crystal network, Thyman could feel the human ship's systems as if they were extensions of his own body. "This is incredible," he whispered, his skin patterns shifting to bright gold with wonder. "I can sense your ship's heartbeat, its thoughts, its purpose. Your technology is so different from ours, yet somehow they harmonize." Captain Marcus Vale stood at the cave entrance watching Voidborn patrols sweep across the valley below. 3 fighter craft moved in perfect formation, their dark hulls reflecting nothing. They flew with mechanical precision, following predetermined search patterns that showed they had done this countless times before on countless worlds. "How many Catherians are still alive?" Marcus asked quietly. "Perhaps 1,200 in the camps," Thyman replied through the neural link, his mental voice carrying notes of grief. "They work them to death mining the deep crystals. The Voidborn take the young and strong first, discard the rest. It is systematic extermination disguised as efficiency." Master Sergeant Kane Bishop finished checking his modified rifle. Zara had enhanced his weapons with crystal focusing arrays that turned standard human ammunition into armor-piercing rounds. "Captain, we can't save them all with one ship, but maybe we can make the Voidborn think twice about easy conquests." "The fighters are coming back around," reported pilot Jackson Torres from the Starfire's cockpit. "Same pattern, same altitude, they're bored, sir. They don't expect any resistance." Marcus felt something cold and hard settle in his chest. These aliens had turned genocide into a routine, boring job. They flew their patterns and collected their prisoners and stripped entire worlds of life as casually as humans might harvest crops. The sheer casual evil of it made his jaw clench. "Zara, weapon status?" "Crystal-enhanced plasma cannons are online, Captain. But I have to warn you, we don't know how they'll react under combat stress. The energy levels are unprecedented. Elder Thyman, can you interface with our targeting systems?" The Catherian leader's pattern shifted to deep blue concentration. Through the bioneural link, he could feel the ship's sensors like his own extended senses. "Yes, Captain. I can see what your ship sees. Think what it thinks. The connection is beautiful." Dr. Cross monitored the readings on her instruments. Bioneural integration at 89% and climbing. Thyman's brain patterns are synchronizing with our computer systems. We're witnessing the birth of the first human-alien hybrid consciousness. "Time to test it," Marcus decided. "Torres, take us up, nice and easy, like we're just another piece of space debris." The Starfire lifted off from the crystal caves using minimal power. its hull polarized to match the color of the surrounding rocks. To the void-born sensors, it looked like nothing more than a chunk of planetary debris caught in an unstable orbit. As they rose through the atmosphere, Elder Thyman gasped. Through the ship's sensors, he could see the full scope of the destruction. His beautiful crystal cities were gone, replaced by smoking craters and void-born mining equipment. Millions of his people had lived in those floating spires. Now there was only death and empty sky. "I'm sorry," Dr. Cross said softly, seeing the pain in his bio-readings. "No," Thyman replied, his mental voice growing stronger. "Do not apologize. Show me how to fight back." The three void-born fighters approached in their standard patrol formation. They flew with arrogant confidence, their pilots probably discussing the efficiency of the mining operation or planning their next shore leave. They had no idea that death was rising to meet them. "Target lock achieved," Kane Bishop reported from the weapons station. "Crystal-enhanced systems are responding to Thyman's neural input. It's like the ship knows what we want to do before we do it." "Fire," Marcus ordered. What happened next would be talked about in cantinas and command centers across the galaxy for years to come. The Starfire's modified plasma cannons erupted with energy that blazed like captured stars. The crystal amplification turned standard ship-to-ship weapons into instruments of precise devastation. The first void-born fighter simply ceased to exist, vaporized so completely that its destruction looked like a brief, brilliant star. The second fighter pilot had time to register surprise before Thyman's alien intuition guided the next shot through an impossible angle, using the planet's magnetic field to curve the plasma beam around the fighter's shields. The explosion lit up the sky like a second sun. The third pilot managed to trigger an emergency transmission before Jackson Torres, grinning like a wolf, put the Starfire into a diving attack run that ended with the final fighter crashing into Mount Serenity in a ball of flame. 3 fighters, down in 15 seconds, Kane reported, his voice filled with awe. "Captain, I've never seen anything like it. The crystal systems are amplifying everything, our targeting, our power output, even our reaction times." But their celebration was short-lived. Across the void-born fleet, alarms began to sound. For the first time in decades, someone had drawn void-born blood. Command frequencies erupted with chatter as 17 dreadnoughts began turning their massive bulk toward the planet's surface. "Oh, hell," Torres muttered, watching the tactical display. "Here they come." Elder Thyman's pattern shifted to deep purple as 12 void-born attack squadrons broke orbit and dove toward their position. "Captain, there are too many. We should retreat to the caves." "No," Marcus said firmly. "We run now and they'll hunt down every Catherian on this planet. Time to show them what happens when humans get angry." Through the bioneural link, Thyman felt something he had never experienced before. Human rage. Not the hot, temporary anger of his peaceful people, but the cold, focused fury of a species that had clawed its way up from the bottom of the food chain. Humans didn't just get mad, they got even. "Zara, can you overload the crystal matrix for a single massive shot?" "Captain, that would drain our entire power grid. We'd be dead in space." "How massive?" The engineer's eyes gleamed. "Big, enough to crack a dreadnought's hull." Marcus smiled grimly. "Do it. Torres, get us into attack position. We're going to teach the galaxy something today." "What are we teaching them, sir?" Kane asked. "That humanity doesn't know how to quit." The Starfire rocketed toward the descending void-born fleet, one tiny ship against impossible odds. In the crystal caves below, the surviving Catherians watched their sky fill with fire and wondered if hope was just another word for beautiful madness. But in the command centers of a dozen alien civilizations, senior military officers suddenly stopped what they were doing to stare at their displays. A single, unknown ship had just destroyed 3 void-born fighters in combat. That wasn't supposed to be possible. The galaxy's first glimpse of human warfare was about to become a legend. The overloaded crystal cannon turned night into day as its beam lanced across space and punched through the hull of the lead void-born dreadnought. For a moment that lasted, forever, the massive warship simply hung in space, Its dark armor split open like a broken shell. Then secondary explosions began rippling along its length as ammunition stores and fuel tanks detonated in chain reactions. "Direct hit!" Kane Bishop shouted from weapons control. "We cracked her open like an egg." But their victory came at a price. The Starfire's power grid was completely drained, leaving them floating dead in space as 11 remaining attack squadrons closed in for the kill. Through the bioneural link, Elder Thyman could feel the ship's system shutting down one by one. "Captain," he said urgently, "the crystals are burned out, but they're trying to regenerate. If we can get to the surface, the planetary crystal network might be able to recharge them." "Torres, emergency descent," Marcus ordered. "All power to engines." The pilot's hands flew over his controls, using gravity and atmospheric friction to send them screaming toward the planet's surface. Behind them, void-born fighters swarmed like angry hornets, their plasma cannons lighting up the sky. The Starfire twisted and rolled through their fire, her hull scarred but intact. They crashed into the crystal forests near the equator, the ship's emergency systems finally failing as they skidded to a stop in a grove of towering crystal trees. The silence that followed was broken only by the distant sound of void-born search parties beginning their hunt. Dr. Evelyn Cross helped Elder Thyman disconnect from the bio-neural interface, both of them shaking from the intensity of their mental connection. "The link worked beyond our wildest expectation," she said. "But the strain on both human and Catherian nervous systems is enormous." "It was worth it," Thyman replied, his skin patterns showing fierce satisfaction. "Did you see their dreadnought burn? They are not invincible. We proved that today." Chief Engineer Zara Nightfall was already crawling through the ship's access tunnels, checking damage and looking for ways to jury-rig their systems back to life. "Captain, the crystals are definitely regenerating, but it'll take hours for full power restoration. We're stuck here until then." Master Sergeant Kane Bishop was thinking tactically. "Good. That gives us time to do what we do best. Teach other people how to fight." Marcus activated their emergency communicator, sending a coded signal to Catherian resistance groups across the planet. Within an hour, nearly 300 survivors had made their way to the crash site. Most were scientists, artists, and civilians who had never held a weapon in their lives. Kane looked at the assembled Catherians and grinned. These gentle aliens were about to get a crash course in human warfare. "Listen up, people," he called, out, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had trained soldiers on a dozen worlds. "The Voidborn think they own this planet because they have bigger ships and meaner weapons. They're about to learn that wars aren't won by equipment. They're won by will." He pulled out his modified rifle and demonstrated how human kinetic weapons could be enhanced with Catherian crystal focusing arrays. "Your people understand these crystals better than anyone. We understand violence better than anyone. Together, we're going to create something the Voidborn have never seen before." Dr. Cross worked with Catherian engineers to develop new weapon designs. Human explosives combined with crystal amplification could bring down entire buildings. Catherian healing crystals could be reverse-engineered to disrupt Voidborn biology. Every piece of human military knowledge was shared freely with aliens, who absorbed it like sponges. Elder Thyman proved to be a natural strategist. His connection to the planetary crystal network allowed him to coordinate resistance cells across the entire world. "The Voidborn have established 5 major labor camps," he reported. "Each one is mining a different type of crystal. If we can disrupt their operations simultaneously, classic guerrilla warfare." Kane nodded approvingly. "Hit them everywhere at once. Make them think they're fighting an army instead of a few hundred survivors." Jackson Torres found his own role teaching Catherian pilots how to fly combat missions. The aliens had aircraft, but they had never used them for war. "It's all about thinking three-dimensionally," he explained to a group of wide-eyed Catherian students. "Your enemy expects you to fly in straight lines and follow traffic patterns. Don't. Be unpredictable. Be chaos." As the days passed, the resistance grew. News of the destroyed dreadnought had spread across the planet, giving hope to Catherians who had accepted death as inevitable. Small strike teams began hitting Voidborn supply convoys. Communication arrays mysteriously exploded. Guard posts went silent in the night. The Voidborn commander, a massive insectoid creature called Harvester Prime, found himself facing something he had never encountered in 50 years of conquest. Effective resistance. His reports to the Voidborn High Command grew increasingly frustrated. The local population has somehow acquired advanced military capabilities, he transmitted. They are using hybrid technology that combines their crystal manipulation with unknown energy weapons. I am requesting additional forces. The response was swift and harsh. Handle your assignment, Harvester Prime. The High Lords do not send reinforcements for problems that should not exist. But the problems were definitely existing. A week after the Starfire's crash, coordinated strikes hit all 5 labor camps simultaneously. Catherian fighters, armed with crystal-enhanced human weapons and trained in human tactics, swept through Voidborn positions like a hurricane. Thousands of prisoners were freed. Tons of rare crystals were recovered or destroyed to deny them to the enemy. Most importantly, the galaxy was watching. Intelligence services across known space were intercepting Voidborn communications and trying to understand how a primitive species had suddenly become dangerous. The word human began appearing in classified reports for the first time. On the bridge of his damaged command ship, Harvester Prime studied tactical displays that made no sense. A single small vessel had appeared in his system. Now his perfectly organized conquest was falling apart. His forces controlled orbital space, but the planet's surface had become a nightmare of ambushes and hit-and-run attacks. Find me these humans, he ordered his intelligence officers. I want to know everything about their species, their technology, their weaknesses. Whatever they die today. Back in the Crystal Forest, Captain Marcus Vale watched his mixed human Catherian forces preparing for their next operation. The Starfire's systems were nearly restored, and their alliance had grown into something resembling a real military force. Captain, Elder Thyman approached, his skin patterns showing deep respect mixed with something that might have been affection. My people have lived for 3,000 years. In all that time, we never learned to fight for ourselves. You have taught us in mere days what we should have learned centuries ago. We didn't teach you to fight, Marcus replied. We taught you that you were worth fighting for. There's a difference. Kane Bishop jogged over from the training area, where he had been teaching Catherians how to set improvised explosive devices. Captain, we've got intelligence from the freed prisoners. The Voidborn are planning to execute every remaining captive tomorrow morning. Public execution meant to break our spirit. Marcus felt that familiar cold anger settling in his chest. How many prisoners? About 8,000, sir. Men, women, children. They're going to kill them all in the main square of what used to be the capital city. Dr. Cross looked up from her research station. It's a trap, obviously. They want to draw us into open combat where their superior numbers will matter. Of course it's a trap, Marcus agreed. But we're going anyway because that's what humans do. We save people even when it's stupid. Elder Thyman's patterns shifted to the deep gold of determination. Then we save them together. Human and Catherian fighting as one. As night fell over Nexus Prime, 2 species that had never met before prepared for a battle that would echo across the galaxy. They had started as strangers. Now they were family. The Voidborn were about to learn that family fights hardest when everything is on the line. Dawn broke over the ruined capital city of Luminar as 8,000 Catherian prisoners were herded into the main square. Harvester Prime had chosen his stage carefully. The execution platform stood where the beautiful council chambers had once reached toward the sky, now replaced by a brutal scaffold of black metal that seemed to absorb light itself. From his command, post high above the square, the Voidborn leader watched his prey through compound eyes that missed nothing. His own forces numbered in the tens of thousands, battle-hardened warriors who had conquered 47 worlds. Today would end this irritating resistance once and for all. Sir, reported his tactical officer, long-range sensors detect movement in the crystal forests, multiple small groups converging on the city. Excellent. Harvester Prime clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. The humans and their pets are walking into our trap. All forces, prepare for final engagement. But 3 miles outside the city, Captain Marcus Vale was implementing a strategy that no Voidborn commander had ever encountered. Human military doctrine didn't just mean better weapons or superior tactics. It meant something far more dangerous. The willingness to sacrifice everything for the right cause. Elder Thyman, are you ready for the deepest neural link we've ever attempted? Dr. Evelyn Cross asked, her hands steady despite the magnitude of what they were about to try. Thyman's skin patterns showed calm determination, mixed with absolute trust. Dr. Cross, Captain Vale, I have lived 3 centuries. If I die today connecting my mind fully to your ship, I die knowing my people will live. Connect me to everything. The bio-neural interface that Cross activated was far beyond anything they had built before. Instead of linking Thyman to just the ship's weapons and sensors, she was connecting him to every system: navigation, communications, power distribution, even life support. The Catherian leader would become the ship's soul, while the human crew provided its warrior spirit. Neural integration at 100%, Cross reported. Thyman's consciousness is distributed throughout every system. The ship is responding to his thoughts as if they were hardwired commands. Chief Engineer Zara Nightfall had spent the night performing her own kind of magic. The Starfire's crystal-enhanced systems were operating at levels that should have been impossible. But more than that, she had networked them with every piece of Catherian technology they could find. Vehicles, communication arrays, even individual weapons were now connected through the planetary crystal matrix. Captain, Zara reported with fierce pride, we're not just one ship anymore. We're a distributed weapons platform spanning the entire planet. Every crystal on Nexus Prime is now part of our targeting system. Master Sergeant Kane Bishop coordinated with resistance cells throughout the city. 300 Catherian fighters, trained in human guerrilla tactics and armed with hybrid weapons, had infiltrated the capital over the past week. They weren't an army in the traditional sense, but they were something more dangerous. Believers with nothing left to lose. All teams report ready, Kane announced. We've got people in position to hit their command posts, supply depots, and communication centers. On your mark, Captain. Pilot Jackson Torres sat at controls that responded to his thoughts as much as his hands. Through Thyman's neural link, he could feel the planet itself. Every crystal formation, every hiding place, every void-born position. It was like flying with the instincts of a god. Sir, Torres said quietly, I can see them all. Every enemy soldier, every weapon emplacement, every weakness in their formation. Thyman's showing me things I never imagined possible. Marcus stood at the center of it all, 30 humans and their alien allies preparing to face impossible odds. Through the viewports of the Starfire, he could see the execution platform where 8,000 innocents waited to die. The smart tactical decision would be to save who they could and retreat. Cut their losses and live to fight another day. But Marcus Vale hadn't traveled across the galaxy to make smart decisions. He had come to do what was right. All teams, all positions, this is Captain Vale. He spoke into the communications array that now connected every fighter on the planet. Today we teach the galaxy something it seems to have forgotten. Evil doesn't win because it's stronger. Evil wins because good people stand by and do nothing. We are not standing by. We are not doing nothing. Today we strike like lightning. The attack began with surgical precision that stunned the Voidborn commanders. Every communications relay in the city died simultaneously, cut by crystal-enhanced explosives that had been placed within human precision. Command posts erupted in flames as Catherian fighters, moving with training that defied their peaceful nature, struck targets that should have been impossible to locate. But the real shock came from above. The Starfire, linked through Elder Thyman to every crystal on the planet, unleashed a bombardment that rewrote the laws of space combat. Plasma beams curved through impossible angles, guided by crystal networks that turned the entire planet into a targeting computer. Voidborn positions that should have been safe behind cover found themselves under attack from weapons that fired around corners and through solid matter. Impossible. Harvester Prime roared as his tactical displays showed his forces being systematically destroyed by an enemy that shouldn't exist. One ship cannot generate this much firepower. His intelligence officer's voice cracked with fear. Sir, it's not one ship. Somehow they've turned the entire planet into a weapon. Every crystal formation is amplifying and redirecting their energy beams. We're fighting a world, not an army. In the city square, the Catherian prisoners watched, in amazement as their guards fell around them. Human-trained Catherian fighters moved through void-born positions like ghosts, appearing from nowhere to strike, and then vanishing back into the crystal maze of the ruined city. Elder Thymon's consciousness flowed through the planetary network, coordinating attacks with inhuman precision while maintaining his connection to the human ship above. He could feel every crystal singing in harmony, every weapon firing in perfect synchronization, every enemy position being systematically eliminated. But he could also feel the strain on his ancient body. The neural link that gave them such power was burning out his nervous system. He had minutes, perhaps less, before his mind would be consumed by the connection he had chosen to make. "Captain," he whispered through the ship's communication system, his mental voice growing faint. "The prisoners are free, but Harvester Prime is escaping to orbit. If he reaches his remaining ships, we stop him," Marcus said simply. "Torres, pursuit course. Maximum burn." The Starfire rocketed toward orbit, pursuing the Void-born commander's fleeing transport. Around Nexus Prime, the remaining enemy dreadnoughts began moving to intercept, their massive guns tracking the small human ship that had somehow destroyed their invasion. "Sir," Kane Bishop reported, "we're outnumbered 16 to 1. Even with the crystal enhancement, we can't fight that many capital ships." "Maybe we can't," Marcus agreed. "But we don't have to fight them all. We just have to fight them long enough."